Welcome back to the third part. In this part, we are going to discuss analyze the text into parts to find out the descriptive language that has been used, some techniques that the writer or the author use in this one. First of all, let's discuss what the meaning of descriptive language. Descriptive, it means you are describing something using a special word. And to describe something, to make your description vivid and more attractive to your reader, you should use the special words, and those words should be very strong. So the descriptive language helps to establish the setting and creates a sense of unease for the reader. Descriptive language uses images that appeal to the senses of sight, hearing, taste, smell and touch. So when you describe to your reader using those appealing to those senses, so as if you are putting him in the scene as if he was there while the thing was happening. So this is the importance of the descriptive language, especially that you have to remember that your reader was not there. So you want to convey the image and draw the image for him as if he wasn't there at that time. Before we go to there, you have to open your book and to mark details in paragraph 2 and that show descriptive language. You will read paragraph 2 here, yes, and you have to mark details that show descriptive language. Starting from he made quick, springing steps. He started to run fast. His left hand dangling freely by the side of his once white coat, now torn and worn out. His coat was before white, and now his coat is torn and worn out. His right hand, bent at the elbow, held onto a string tied to a small bundle on his slightly drooping back. The bundle were wrapped with a cotton cloth that had once been printed with red flowers, now faded out, swung from side to side in a harmony with the rhythm of his steps. There was something hanging from his jacket and or his coat, and as long as he was running so fast, the thing has been swung in the rhythm of his steps. The bundle held the bitterness and hardships of the years spent in the detention camps. Now and then he looked at the sun on its homeward journey. Sometimes he darted quick-sided glances at the small hedged strips of land which, with their sickly-looking crops, maize, beans and peas, appeared much as everything else did, unfriendly. In his way back home, he was looking at the things around him, trying to take like a glance or a look at the thing, but he discovered that everything looks like the others. All of them were unfriendly. The whole country was dull and seemed weary to Kamal. This was nothing new. He remembered that even before the Mau Mau emergency, that was the political issue that happened, and that's why he was present for. Before the Mau Mau emergency, the overtiled Jikoi holdings wore haggard locks in contrast to the sprawling green fields in the settled area. Yes, where's the descriptive language here? Yes, he was describing through this part. The sensory details help to communicate how much time he passed and how much has changed during that time. The description of the coat, the description of the steps, how did his coat fade out and the colors of his coat filled out. His color changed from white to becomes here. He mentioned that it was worn out. The bundle that has been hanged from his coat and was moving next to him. All these details help to communicate how much time has passed and how much has changed during the time. Let's go to what's personification. What's the meaning of personification? Personification is one of the figurative speech. It means that to give human qualities or characteristic to an inanimated or unconscious object. Sometimes authors do this to give a special meaning to an object or to give it agency or power in the story. If you use verification. Yes, from this part he needs you to mark details paragraph 3 that show personification. Here's paragraph 3. Yes, his steps. His steps as if he could scarcely believe this to be true till he had actually set his eyes on the river. He was still on his way back home, glancing at the things around him. It was there. It still flowed. Honya, where so often he had taken a path, plunging stark naked into its cool living water, warmed his heart as he watched its serpentine movement around the rocks and heard its slight murmurs. A painful exhilaration passed all over him, and for a moment he longed for those days. He sighed. Perhaps the river would not recognize in his hardened features that same boy to whom the riverside word had meant everything. Yet as he approached Hanya, he felt more akin to it than he had felt for anything else since his release. The personification here, perhaps the river would not recognize in his hardened features. It means that he is giving a human characteristic or qualities to the river, as if he can recognize things. Sometimes the author do this to give a special meaning to an object, as I told you, and to give it power in the story itself. Let's go from paragraph 8 to paragraph 12. He needs you to mark details that demonstrate the use of flashback. When we think of flashback, remembering something happened in the old days. The others had been like him. They had talked of nothing but their homes. One day he was working next to another detainee from Murugwana. Suddenly, the detainee, Negriku, stopped breaking stones. He sighed heavily. His worn-out eyes had a faraway look. "What's wrong, man? What's the matter with you?" Kamau asked. "It's my wife. I left her expecting a baby. I have no idea what has happened to her." Now he's remembering things that happened to him while he was in jail. Another detainee put in, "For me, I left my woman with a baby. She had just been delivered. We were all happy, but on the same day I was arrested." And so they went on. All of them longed for one day, the day of their return home. Then life would begin new. The flashback is a scene within a narrative that interrupts the sequence of events to relate events that occurred in the past. Writers use flashback to show what motivates a character or to reveal something about the character past. Clarify a special point or a special moment in the character past. A writer may present a flashback as a character's memory, sometimes, or as a part of an account or story told by a character, as a dream or a daydream, or as a dramatic transition by the narrator. So here in this part from 8 to 12, those parts that we have highlighted, one day he was working next to another detainee from Murugwana, and this one, and so they went on, all of them longed for one day, the day of their return. The author wants the reader to understand what motivates Kamau's desire to return home. It was the sense of hope in Kamau. He dreams of seeing his wife again and continuing his life with her like the other people who were around him in the jail. Culture context. In paragraph 28, show the culture context. Let's read it. "She was a good daughter to us," his mother was explaining. "She waited for you and patiently for all the ills of the land. Then Karanja came and said that you were dead. Your father believed him. She believed him too and need for a month. Karanja constantly paid us visits. He was of your Rika, you know. Then she got a child. We could have kept her, but where is the land? Where is the food? Ever since consolidation, our last security was taken away. We let Karanja go with her. Other women have done worse, gone to town. Only the infirm and the old have been left there. A cultural context of a literary work refers to the economic or social and historical event or environment that the characters inhabit or live in, including the attitudes and customs of their life of the culture and historical period. The return cultural context also includes the cultural attitudes and ideologies of the period in which the writer lived in, which may be different from the period in which the literary work is set, because those beliefs may also be reflected in the work, either consciously or unconsciously. From this part, Kamal expected Mutali to wait for him, his wife, because she was married to him, and his family ended up letting her leave with Karanja, that was his friend, because he grew up with Kamal. We can conclude that wives were expected to stay committed to their husbands, even in their husband's absence. Mutani stayed with Kamal's family for as long as she believed that he was alive. But when they heard that he is dead, so his family let her leave with the Karanja because they couldn't afford to keep her, couldn't afford the money of her food or the place to live in. They trusted him because they trusted Karanja because he grew up in the same group of children as their son. Okay, so we are going to stop here, and we're going to meet again to